Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer, and this is a video about the new moon in Libra solar eclipse taking place on October 14th at 1:24 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, this will be the twin flame lunar update. And a couple of quick announcements. Eclipse readings are available on my website if you would like to take a look at the entirety of the Aries Libra eclipse cycle for your chart and know each eclipse, what it will bring, and how they're working together to support and facilitate your growth romantically and otherwise. Book with me over at kmoonastro.com. I have been telling people that I strongly recommend the 60-minute reading for this, only because I've been seeing a lot of clients complete their 30-minute readings and then need to rebook the following weeks because they just have other questions, and we only were able to get through the eclipse stuff in a 30-minute reading. And sometimes we end up even going over, and it doesn't work because then I'm late to my next clients and you don't get what you need. When 30 minutes is enough, I'll tell you. I always do. Like, to answer the questions about this particular lunation for your personal chart, you only need 30 minutes. But for this particular eclipse cycle, I'm strongly recommending that people take the full 60, be generous with yourself so that you can look at not just this year, because these eclipses stretch into next year. And they're working in harmony, in tandem. So you want to understand the totality of the cycle, not just this moment. Okay. At the end of this video, I will do first look. Oh, no. I did first look at the end of the Lightworker energy update video. So if you want to have a look at the lunar eclipse upcoming in Taurus, that's a closing eclipse. That's 2 weeks from this. Please have a listen to that. And in the total eclipse video that I did on the Aries Libra eclipse axis, I was missing an eclipse. Bummer. But what I did was I added the eclipse that I missed. It's out in 2025. In the description box and in the comment section, it's in the first pinned comment. I put the date, the time, and my interpretation of that eclipse and how it ties into the other ones in writing there. So if you want to have a look for that, you absolutely can. And then add the eclipse dates to your calendars. All right, let's talk about this particular new moon in Libra solar eclipse for divine counterparts. It's a very exciting one for those who identify in some sort of soul connection or being activated by love, particularly because this new moon solar eclipse, new moons are new beginnings. Solar eclipses are amped up, hyped up, magnified new beginnings. This particular solar eclipse new beginning is in the sign that deals with partnership. It's the second of the divine feminine signs that she governs and rules. And it is very heavily focused on the past, someone from the past, a partnership, relationship, or pattern from the past resurrecting itself because of this solar eclipse's connection with the South Node, which deals with past life or past in this life, and Pluto, which specifically deals with things that have ended and resurrected themselves. Pluto and the South Node are both in conversation with this new beginning. And so this speaks to new beginnings with something that has previously been in existence, whether it's a pattern or a person or a strength or some sort of partnership that reminds you of something old. You'll find that the resurrection is unfolding in this energy. Now, I went in great detail about how it works, how to use it to ensure that you get the kind of new beginning you want and not a repeat of something that maybe didn't work so well in the past in the Lightworker Energy Update, because we are part of the Lightworker Collective. We are not exclusive to the Lightworker Collective. This energy applies to everyone because it doesn't only or exclusively speak to the divine counterparts. So my recommendation is that you have a listen to that update and then come back and listen to this as if it's a part 2 to that. and just kind of get the gist of what's going on in the counterpart energy fields as deeper refinement to that conversation. Okay. Let's have a look at the divine feminine energetic field. She's at the 28th degree of Libra. This is Juno. She represents partnerships and marriages, but she also represents divine feminine energy. She is the goddess incarnate as wife to her husband Jupiter, whom I read as divine masculine energy over here in Taurus. In the divine feminine energetic fields, let's just see here, she is conjunct Lilith and conjunct Venus, even though they are both in the sign of Virgo and she's in Leo. They are all having a lovely little chat together. The chat that they're having is an interesting one because Juno and Venus together, you could almost consider Juno a higher octave of Venus, a more mature octave of Venus. You could consider Juno kind of like where Venus is like falling in love, Juno is the marriage and commitment. Juno's energy is all about the solidification of a partnership in the third dimension coming into form. And this is only amplified by Venus's placement in a third dimensional earth sign, that's Virgo. Virgo really understands decisions and details. It understands discernment. And so with Venus and Virgo, we have an energy of coming into the divine feminine energy fields of some supreme clarity about what it is she wants, especially because she's about to arrive in Virgo in just a few days' time. So there's a certainty about, okay, here's what I want, especially because Lilith deals with understanding our desires and the way we want it, and a capacity to know what we want and to step into it, stand in it. And if we don't get it, walk away. In shadow, Lilith can be a little ultimatumy, and really take people not meeting her ultimatums as rejection. Oh, they didn't want me. And it's like, no, you issued an ultimatum. There was no conversation there. It wasn't about not being wanted. It was about you not showing up in totality and in power. And so I took a deep dive on the ultimatum conversation because I'm seeing a lot of that chit chat and chatter in the comment section and between folks or in the divine counterpart world, and really using ultimatums as a pass for power. If you can't give me a relationship, then we can't be in each other's lives. And if you can't show up this way, then we can't be friends. And if you can't blah, 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 then we have to separate. Ultimatums are not true power. And the reason why power is such an important part of this conversation is because of Pluto's influence on this particular eclipse. There is going to be an access point to the resurrection of a relationship when we're standing in true power, not playing power games, which ultimatums are. No one's saying have no boundaries. That's a different thing. But what's happening here with Lilith in the mix is there's an influx of some of that kind of energy that wants to manipulate in the divine feminine energy fields in order to get what she wants. And there can be a bit of a splitting here, which seems important to talk about because of the way the divine feminine energy is speaking to Mars. There's a sextile here to Mars. And so for those of you who are in polarity conversations about your divine counterpartship, I'm going to speak to you individually first. And a polarity conversation is one where you identify yourself as exclusively divine feminine, and you identify someone else as exclusively divine masculine. You refer to yourself as the DF. You refer to someone else as your DM. If that's where you're at, that's fine. There are lessons there. There's leadership there. The path to union is really, it includes some of that, but it doesn't end there. It ends when you've got both energies clearly cultivated within ourselves. Okay. But for those of you who are in a season in your connection where it's very much, I'm a DF or I'm a DM, and the other person is the other polarity. One of the things that can happen when you've got Mars, the human masculine energy, speaking to Juno, the divine feminine energy, is there can be a level of, especially because Lilith is in the mix, there can be a level of kind of like, F it, my twin's not ready, so I'm storming off with a soulmate kind of energy going on. And I'm seeing it a lot. And so I'm telling you about this because that would be a disempowered use of this energy, because the Mercury component to this particular lunation is inviting us into negotiation and conversation in a way that we've never been able to have before. Mercury has, typically at certain lunations been like tied up over here with Neptune, tied up over here with Saturn, sometimes a bit overly optimistic here with Jupiter. There's some real sober conversations that can happen in this energy if we're willing to get out of fear and really stand in our power with other people. Now, that's not to say that, you can't have a soulmate or you should only be with your twin. I don't get into labels all like that with people. Who's the twin? Who's the not the twin? Who's the karmic? Who's the ascension partner? I don't look for all of that in a chart. Here's what I know for a fact, though. When your heart is convicted and in love with a particular person, and you make the head decision to go off with somebody else, the lesson that love has been attempting to teach you through your connection with that person doesn't stop. It just repeats with the new one. And so, in this particular circumstance, if you find yourself triangulated because you're in a polaric energy and you need another energy to balance you, which doesn't happen when you're in union energy with yourself. You don't need another person to balance you. You are in balance inside. Like I said, there's reasons why you might be in polarity. It just doesn't need to be your last stop, right? In this, we have the option, the opportunity to continue the lesson, the love, and the growth with someone who's not the counterpart, with Mars speaking to Juno in this way. I get asked a lot from people who they've triangulated themselves because they're in polaric energy, which is very common. When you're in union energy, you don't see a lot of this triangle stuff going on. But when you are in a polaric energy and you've got, a twin, and then you've got a soulmate or some other sort of labeled person swimming in your auric field, when this happens, and then we get a new moon solar eclipse like the one we've got, this will pull the lesson that you had initially been learning, that you walked away from learning with the first person. It'll pull that lesson into presence with the second person. So you're not actually getting something new. You're basically getting the same hamburger on a different bun. So it's the splitting thing that can happen here can be very like when you're placing your body and your mind with person B, when your heart and your spirit are with person A. That splitting thing is in an energy like this, an absolute guarantee you're going to repeat a lesson and repeat a cycle. So this is a bit of a warning. It is also a bit of an understanding and an education that until you're new, nothing new will take place. Until you have done the healing and you have done the resolution inside of you to bring all your parts back into wholeness. Like splitting yourself will create more splitting up of your union energy until you learn how to unionize with yourself. And so I caution those of you who are in the circumstance of thinking, yep, I'm going to leverage this to walk away from person A and deal with person B. And I'm going to force my heart to shut down. And I'm going to force my body in this new direction with this new person because they're not like the old person. They will very quickly become like the old person. If you are still the old you and you didn't complete the lessons from the old cycle, your old self will call forward old patterns. And those old patterns will pick up where you left off. Please don't do it to yourself. You have the option to get on a new timeline here. Okay. And just to speak to some of you who really have that, I speak to people all the time who are like, but K Moon, I've been single for you don't know how long. Some of you are like 6 months. Some of y'all are like 6 years. Some of y'all are like, 6 weeks. They haven't talked to me in 6 weeks. And I'm like, listen, the deal is in this space where your heart is convicted with person A, that is not the time to split yourself and shove your body into situation with person B. That is the time to walk through the fire of what it means to have your heart in one place and let yourself burn away everything that stands in between you and love, so that once that stuff is burned, and there's real fire in this is why I called it the purification process. There's a video about that in the channeled messages, what the purification process is. There's real burning away of everything that stops you from truly manifesting union energy if you will just sit still long enough and be with yourself patiently enough to be with what comes up. And so many times I see people never really come out of the purification process. It doesn't take actually that long, but it's fiery and it's uncomfortable to know that your heart is with someone who is not with you, maybe doing God knows what with God knows whom, wherever, all of that. It can be fiery to just choose not to abandon your heart and to keep your body and your mind with your heart and not split it off with some other people just because the person your heart is with isn't available. Okay. So invitation got like challenge thrown down, like gauntlet thrown. For those of you in the purification process, you will see humans show up for you, who will resemble either physically or emotionally. The charge will resemble your counterpart. If your counterpart's not available and you are presently walking in separation or polaric energy, you will see someone who it's like the love feels very similar, or it's like there's an option here to kind of explore it. You'll see it manifest in this energy. It'll be very reminiscent of your counterpart in some way. You have the option to either walk through the purification fire and say, okay, person B, I see why you're here. There's something unfinished with person A. I'm going to go finish it within myself and then I'll be ready. And or I see a lot of people do this, and you can do this in this energy. That's fine. You can say, all right, person B, I see you are here as a result of me not completing everything with person A. Let's just go ahead and get the repeat over with. Let me not walk away. Let me not storm off. Let me not block. Let me not shut down. Let me actually lean hard into what I have to learn here, so that person A, who my heart is with, I can come back more evolved, cleaner, healed heart, whole heart, clean heart going forward. Let's just get on with the lesson. But I promise you, if you're in polaric energy with Mars speaking to Juno and Venus in this way, there is some level of repeat of something that you've already experienced that will show up. And the opportunity is to evolve beyond it, grow past it, either on your own or with somebody else. But don't think you're getting something new in this. You still have to do the inner work in order to get something completely new. Okay. And that's what this kind of Plutonian aspect brings, and the Saturn aspect that is opposite the divine feminine and Lilith and Venus and Juno field. This Saturnian aspect is bringing forward like lessons and boundaries and timing and needing to be patient and grow yourself and evolve yourself and come back to wholeness. And because it's in opposition, the process isn't like a smooth one. It's one that's maybe a little bit more thorny, or a little bit more like, woof, this is not what I originally expected or anticipated when I jumped in. And that's okay. Sometimes the universe has to speak a little louder to get our full attention. Let it. When it's got your full attention, take new action to get new results. That's the way this works, right? So there's that going on in the divine feminine energy fields. Now, for those of you who are in some sort of union energy, let me deal with y'all's connection, because this is going to manifest in an entirely different way for you. If you're in some sort of union energy, what you're going to see is that this Mars energy is empowering and endowing your field with some extra oomph, extra motivation to either start a new cycle, new process with your person, whether y'all are in communication loosely, or in some sort of like third dimensional, traditionally recognized union, or you could just even be spiritual union. Some of y'all really understand that concept and are in that place. You're going to see that the way in which your interior world is organized around possibility and the connection, what you're willing to stand for, what you're willing to work through, how you're willing to grow, all of that is going to come to the next highest level. Some of you are going to take a new step in connection. There's a few people who've emailed about this, and then at least two of them I published on the channel in the community section. If you're not subscribed, subscribe so you can see the community section in your feed. But there are people who are like going from no communication to unblocked, like people who were blocked to getting unblocked and now in communication again. People who are going from being in communication, over digital devices, to being in communication in person, moving from in person friendship to like dating and romance to commitment, from commitment to marriage, or whatever it is you guys see as next. Maybe it's moving in together, maybe it's having a kid, maybe it's buying a property. You're going to see this energy take you to the next step if you're already in some kind of union energy. All right. And that's it's great to have, things evolve. I definitely, again, with Saturn in the mix here, there's something about pacing, sequencing, timing as she moves into Virgo. Again, that's also about patterning, pacing, sequencing, timing. You're going to see some of that unfold. There's also a lot of leadership unfolding in the divine feminine energy fields. So with this, regardless of what gender you or your partner identify as, and regardless of what, how you identify your particular mix of feminine and masculine energy inside, what you'll see is that it's from the vulnerable, receptive, feminine energy fields that there's an impetus to do something new. It's from that part of you that is that has that, that softness, that creativity, that flowing and flexibility. It's that part of you that's going to want to go, let me try this a different way with this person. And you'll see something shift as a result of whatever new thing you're doing inside of you. For those of you who are in some form of like formalized traditional union, this is like y'all taking on some kind of new project, tackling something new together. And I really like to see it. Like there's not even, I don't want to even say playfulness, but it feels like with Scorpio and Virgo talking in this way, This really reads a lot like, okay, we got 90 days until the end of the year. Let's tackle this thing and let's do this. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get this done. Let's take this on so we can start the new year in a new vibe. And so for some of you, Virgo really kind of deals with like projects around the house, health and well-being stuff. The two of you may take on some sort of health and well-being challenge together. Could be mental health, could be physical health. You'll also find that with the Scorpio component here and Mars in Scorpio, one of you may be doing a lot of research. The other one, with Juno moving into Virgo, may be doing a lot of gathering of resources and materials to kind of make whatever the next step is unfold. It's a really lovely energy for getting things done. For those of you who are in some sort of formalized partnership in that capacity. Okay. So those are all the different layers and ways things can play out. Have fun. If you see something that resonates for you and you're new here, welcome. So good to have you. Hit the subscribe button. But if you're wondering, if you're in polaric energy, right? And there's blocking and non-communication and ultimatums going on, or none of that, and you're just like, how do I get out of being just the divine feminine or just the divine masculine? How do I get into that union energy in myself? Where is the access point for it so that I can really move into union energy on the outside with a counterpart who's ready for me and wants to do something new during this eclipse cycle, which is all about relationships? Book a reading with me over at kmoonastro.com. Somebody asked me this week, like, hey, when are you bringing twin flame readings back? I want you to look at, so-and-so's chart for me. And I'm going to be honest, it's not in the guidance for me at this time. Let me show you guys where we were at the start of the year, just as a quick reminder for anyone new. We started the year in a union season with the divine counterparts meeting up in the sign of Aries. There's Juno and Jupiter back in January, having done their once in roughly 7-year meetup here. The energy, the vibration, the frequency of Aries facilitates the counterparts' union energy for this next 7-year cycle being accessible through Aries energy, Aries thoughts, Aries behaviors. Aries is the sign of the self. It's the sign of the individual. It's the sign of your unique authenticity and ambitions. In order to access the union energy with someone external to you, there has to be a creation of the union energy inside of you in this 7-year cycle. Now, the next 7-year cycle, there's going to be something else. They meet up in a whole other sign in 2028. That's going to be a different cycle with a different access point for union. But this access point will not illuminate or educate through your partner's chart. It will educate through your own chart. And this is why last year, when I started to see this energy come in, I sat and I meditated and I prayed and I talked to my guidance team about it. And they were like, stop doing twin flame readings for now. Just stop. They're not helping people. They're only solidifying their separation because the other person's not there. And in reading or giving information in the container with the other person not being present to hear it, you're only solidifying, co-signing, co-creating more separation for people. I was like, damn, all right, fine. And I didn't want to do that for you guys. I certainly didn't want to be in that energy myself either. So that's kind of the situation there with the twin flame readings, and why I'm telling you guys how important it is if you really want to get into union energy. First of all, balancing your internal feminine and masculine energy, cultivating, invoking, knowing what they are, working with them, is going to be critical, not using another person to balance them out, but really solidifying them within self, first of all. And then, second of all, really understanding what the Aries energy is inviting you to do through the access point of your chart. And this is the thing that I've shared in the community posts, that the change and the way that people have gotten like in communication after being blocked, right? Had things shift in their partnerships after a period of distance, separation, or silence. The change that people made wasn't anything that they did with their person, it was what they did within themselves. And so I left those testimonials there for you guys to understand the shift isn't over there with them, it's in here within you. And you shift, the energy shifts, the relationships shifts. Okay. So often, sometimes people will go to psychics, or, you might tune in to some sort of YouTube reading, and people will tell you, or they'll say, well, this is the energy and energy can change. And then they'll fill in all the reading. Or they'll say, you know, based on, what I can see from this part, and there's, then there's free will, right? Most of the time we're listening to everything people say after energy can change, but the true power isn't in what they say after as if it's gospel. It's in what's happening before that, which is energy changing. How does energy change? Why does it change? When does it change? And you have power to influence that change? That is where the real opportunity is as for us as divine creators incarnate, not in what comes after that and getting some sort of guaranteed roadmap. That roadmaps can shift. Somebody could tell you today that person will never come around. That connection is bogus and you should leave it alone. But energy can change. You can change the energy. And so, I offer that as a way to really help you guys reconnect and re-solidify your power in your divine counterpartship. Because one of the challenges that I see a lot of divine counterparts have is a lack of access to their power. They feel victim to the connection, and that's not the way this is supposed to work. Pluto here is giving us all the opportunity, as it's been retrograde squared, the transiting nodal axis, a second chance to pick up power in relationship and identity. Libra and Aries, respectively. So the more you're able to understand that you have the power to shift the energy, that power is inside of you. You can be in a place where you don't even need to look at your person's chart. You just shift the energy and the circumstances begin to shift around you. The only thing you really need to understand is your chart, your energy, your flows, and how to work with them so that you're getting the light and not the shadow of your planetary energies. Okay. All right. So if you want to do that, you know where to find me, kmoonastro.com. Great time to book a reading. I've opened up the full October calendar to have this conversation. Normally, I kind of roll these out maybe like 3 weeks in advance, but I've opened up the full calendar because I want you to be able to get in while the eclipse energy is at its peak. We've got another eclipse coming up on the 28th. That's part of the previous cycle, the Scorpio Taurus eclipse cycle. If you want to have a look at these and all the other eclipses, the way to do that is book a time in my calendar, and we can understand how this energy can be evolving you so that you can have evolution in your connection. Now, let's look at the divine masculine energy field here. Jupiter, lovely Jupiterian energy, like to see it. Oops, that's not what we meant to do. There we go. Here's Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter is now retrograde. So we have a more spiritual energy flowing through our internal divine masculine energy fields, a willingness to maybe confront some of our doubts, some of our questions around our self-worth, self-esteem, and self-value. That's Taurus. And really deal with where we have devalued ourselves in relationship to other people with this particular solar eclipse, new moon in Libra. There's an opportunity in this through our divine masculine energy fields to have a look at our contributions. That's Taurus. Have a look at, the ways in which we have even existed in the third dimension for ourselves, and have a look at, okay, where am I underperforming? Where am I, not living up to my full potential? Taurus specifically is one of the first signs that deals with money. We have a lot of money conversations unfolding in our divine masculine energy fields, especially as we get to the lunar eclipse on the 28th, which I'll talk about when we get there. But certainly opportunities to redo something when it comes to our relationship to money and resources. That's Taurus. In the third dimension, in a way that is more deeply empowering to us and facilitates greater access to our evolutionary path. So, where in your divine masculine energy field you have been undervaluing yourself, under earning, underpaying yourself, where you have been in agreement that you're not worth it, where there's a worthiness issue in your capacity to have connection, to be a strong contributor in connection, where you have written yourself off. All of this is going to be up for question, examination, and rewriting during this new moon in Libra solar eclipse. Certainly, there will be memories from the past unfolding with this solar eclipse showing up. Things that give you kind of pause because maybe it reminds you of something that may have been painful before. There's an opportunity to strip those painful the pain from those memories so that they are no longer painful memories. They are just memories, and give yourself the opportunity for a new beginning. Okay. There's a lot going on here in the world of work that I mentioned in the Lightworker Energy update pertaining to new collaborations, new business partnerships, deals and negotiations, where it will be imperative for you to be willing to talk through, have communication about things that, if you're going back into a situation and circumstance from your past, which it definitely looks like is very possible for most of us, with the South Node speaking so loudly to this solar eclipse, if you're going into something from your past anew, there needs to be, from your divine masculine energetic field, some sort of clarity within yourself, what your new values are, and the way the new contracts will be structured to support your new values. Right. So, I have a friend who is, trained in one way, let's just say as an engineer. And passion is in a completely different area, not engineering, but engineering pays the bills. Invitations, opportunities, or are showing up, can show up in this energy to do more engineering work. But in order for it to be a win-win for this person, given that their passion is in a new direction, they're trying to transition their career in a new direction, they need the money at this time, absolutely. So they can't really afford to say no. The way to work with this is to really have detailed conversations with people, again, from the divine feminine energetic field. Look at the details, have conversations about what you need, how much you need. Is it time? Is it money? Is it resources? To carve out space for what it is you truly value and who you truly are now. That's Jupiter in Taurus, sign of values. Value yourself now in a way through this job, so that the job, even though it's like maybe something you tried to quit in the past, you need it now for cash, it's not set up the way it was set up in the past. You can ask for new things. You can request that your new values be honored. But it's important, really important, because Taurus is the sign of desire, that you're using the Jupiter retrograde to have a conversation with yourself about the answer to the question, what do you want? You have to know the answer to this question. And you can't be afraid or ashamed to name it. Like, if you know you need to get paid double what you ever got paid before for this to be a yes for you, then say it. I need double. There's inflation, there's the economy, there's, blah, blah, blah. My expenses have changed. Just be clear, like, I can do what you need me to do, but this is what I would need in exchange. That's how negotiation works. It's both people talking about what the needs are and then finding a way to make sure each person gets it. So I talk more in depth about that in the Lightworker energy update, but there's absolutely here in the divine masculine energy field some sort of review of values, maybe even financial review for yourself, around kind of your budget, your income, your cash flow, your earnings as you close out the end of the year, so that you can make some new decisions as Jupiter goes direct about what you're doing in these areas with collaborators. That's this new moon in Libra, so that things are more balanced for you. That's Libra as well. Balance and relationship, partnership. Now, inside of connection, we have Jupiter wandering himself into harmony over here with Juno and Venus. The two of them are still rocking tight together. There's some harmonious energy here, from the divine masculine energetic field. And this really lends itself to people not having to be in the splitting, right? This lends itself, especially as Juno comes more fully into Virgo as we get to the tail end of October. Tons of harmony in the divine counterpart energetic fields, masculine and feminine energy working together to evolve the connection in the third dimension as she's coming out of fire, moving into earth. He sits in earth. Both earth signs are about the third dimension. She's got some of the big picture and the details. He's got the values. Well, he's got the big picture and the values. She's got the details. There's a lot of harmony here for people who are in union energy. Okay. So we'll start in the opposite direction now with those who are in some form of solidified third dimensional union energy. This solar eclipse is going to be the prelude to a jumping off point of something much deeper. Certainly marriage, certainly proposals, certainly formalized third dimensional relationships. All of that is absolutely here. There's also some energy here about making some new financial commitments together, finding out kind of financially how you both can get your ducks in a row so that you can make maybe some investments together in the future. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on, maybe buying property or land, although that's not heavily indicated. It's definitely something that we would consider in the world of assets. Consolidating your assets, some of that, or consolidating resources. Virgo and Taurus very squarely deal with resources. They both deal with health as well. So the two of you, again, there's a lot of support here for jumping into some sort of new health plan, new health regime, being a team about it, encouraging each other, working together, getting on the same page about what the values are. For those of you who are not in some sort of formalized third dimensional union, but are occupying union energy, without those kind of third dimensional labels, this is where you might find, some things from the past start to surface in communication. You may find that the two of you may want to revisit certain experiences you've had, talk through ways you've both grown or what you learned from that period of time. You may even talk through kind of like, wow, like I used to be X, Y, or Z way. I've changed so much. Some of that was because of you. Thank you for being who you are. It's these kinds of like kind, open communications that are all about evolution that can be unfolding with this solar eclipse. Okay. There is an invitation to be patient in this, to not rush it, not have it be all or nothing with this, because all or nothingness and ultimatums, as I said earlier, kind of gets us nowhere. And then for those of you who are in polarity energy, like this is an iteration of separation energy, right? You really see them as one and you as the other, kind of divine feminine over there, divine masculine over here with me. If you are seeing yourself and your connection in polaric energy, that's totally fine. Sometimes there are real lessons in occupying one energy so heavily. And sometimes there's leadership you need to provide to certain other people by being staunchly only in one energy. For those of you who are in polaric energy, and really identify yourselves in some format of separation, what you'll find in this patterning here is more so that there's still, and it's been a couple of lunations now. I think this is like lunation number 3 or 4, that's been like this, where there's still a tremendous amount of pull coming off the frequency of the connection itself. You two could be definitely thinking about each other a lot, going to locations where the two of you either met or spent time in the past. Like I said, certainly lots of reviewing. There's going to be a necessity for some grace in this with Jupiter retrograde, really releasing a lot of the fault finding and blame around how we got into separation and why we're in separation, and really instead taking stock and ownership, true possession of how far you've come, how much you've grown, giving yourself that kudos, that pat on the back that says, I'm not who I was before. I've learned, I've grown, and integrating that for yourself and valuing yourself through the lessons of polarity and separation. All right. So, if you'd like to have a look at how to move yourself out of polarity timelines and have a more integrated masculine and feminine energy, and some of you are most of the way there. You're somewhere in the middle where, you're listening to what I say about divine masculine and you recognize that going on in your life and you feel it. You listen to what I say about divine feminine and you recognize that going on in your life and it resonates. You may still not have any sort of like communication or connection in the third dimension with a counterpart. Nevertheless, you are getting closer and closer to some format of union energy. If you'd like to really, we'll stick the landing here and really, fully integrate it for yourself. We can have a look at where and how the divine feminine and divine masculine energies are being aspected in your chart by these major planetary energies of 2023 and 2024, so that you can understand, okay, here's where my work is. If I shift the energy and the connection shifts. Okay. There's also readings available for couples who want to have a conversation. You can be in any stage of union. You could even be just friends and decide, hey, we want to do a couples reading together. We want to look at our joint energy because this is where we get stuck, or this is where we want to evolve, or this is what we want to create in the next year. I've been doing a lot of couples readings for folks who can come together to the session. And in that way, we are cultivating greater union energy in that regard. Okay. So that's what I got. I'm over at kmoonastro.com. Please have a look, book your session before the end of the month for eclipse readings so we can get it while the eclipse energy is potent. It remains potent all the way for 90 days from now. It just wanes a little bit each week. But the full month of October is open. Let's do this, guys. Love you. Can't wait to see how you use this energy. Take great care and bye for now.